Mount Elgon, the oldest extinct volcano in East Africa, rising above the boundary between Uganda and Kenya. A mountain of illusions, hosting the world's largest mountain caldera and a host of rare animals found only here in the cradle of mankind. This is Mount Elgon National Park, the land of 1,000 waterfalls. Every year, this mountainous national park receives over 5,000 visitors, majority of whom come to discover its 40 square kilometers caldera, the biggest in the whole world. It was named after Mountain Elgon, an extinct shield volcano which first erupted more than 24 million years ago, leaving behind the largest surface area of any extinct volcano in the world. The park is located in the eastern part of Uganda, approximately 20 kilometers from Mbale city, the biggest city in Bagisu sub-region.
It is surrounded by 8 districts on the Ugandan side, and then on the Kenyan side, the international borders, which happens to be also a national park on the Kenyan side. But on the Ugandan side, it is surrounded by Bukwa district, Kwen, Kapchora, Burambuli, Sironko, Mbale, come to Bududa, and then Manafwa. If I took a direct line from the main city Mbale to the nearest park boundary, it's about 20 to 25 kilometers. And to reach the nearest trailhead is about 30 kilometers from Mbale city.
Mbale city being the main town in the eastern range that connects us to the various lands, the inlet. That is, when you're coming towards Tororo, you're coming through the Tirinyi route, and you're coming through the Soroti highway. Mbale is just like a center.
But still you can access Mount Elgon through Swam if you're coming from Kenya.
Mount Elgon National Park is one of the oldest national parks in Africa, covering an area of 1,211 square kilometers, split down the middle by the Kenyan-Ugandan border. The Ugandan side of the park was first gazetted as a forest reserve in 1938, managed by the Forestry Department as Mount Elgon Crown Forest, which eventually became a Central Reserve Forest in 1951. In 1994, the reserve was finally converted into a national park to preserve its historical mysteries and protect its ever-declining flora and fauna. Mount Elgon is the second highest mountain in Uganda, and hiking is the principal tourism activity of this park.
All tourists coming to Mount Elgon, the focus is not on animals, but the focus is on the pressure of hiking to the second highest mountain in Uganda.
We also have mountain biking, which is a nice experience to the experts of the bicycle riders who want to do experience to the top of the mountain.
And it attracts closer to 75% of the clients that come to Mount Elgon, majority of whom are always foreigners that come to hike Mount Elgon.
Beside this, we have the rock climbing. It's an activity that people do, the upsailing of the rocks, and it's a very good experience. We do it both outside and inside the national park.
Before its second eruption, it was the biggest mountain in Africa that left unique geographical features which have attracted millions of visitors over the years.
The studies indicate that over 24 million years ago, when Mount Elgon peak collapsed, is believed to have been higher than Kilimanjaro. But because Mount Elgon is a volcanic mountain, the peak, the plug of the peak, burnt a stretch over 8 kilometers diameter, and all of it collapsed in to form a sort of a basin,
which is a unique attraction to very many. Being the largest in the whole world, covering 40 square kilometers wide, has left a lot of other peaks like Wagagai summit being the highest at 4,321 meters above sea level, leaving it to be the second highest mountain in Uganda and the fourth in East Africa.
And because of that formation of the collapsed in caldera, you find several crater lakes scattered into this region. Some of them are the sources of these numerous rivers that flows from the Mount Elgon to the floodplains around here. Thus, the calling of Mount Elgon, the land of 1,000 waterfalls.
These features created a wide range of scenery, including cliffs, gorges and caves with overhanging crystalline walls entering over 200 meters inside the Kenyan part of the mountain.
Many people call Mount Elgon, when you reach up on the peak, they call it the mountain of erosion, because there are 4 major peaks on top of the caldera, but whichever peak you are, you strongly believe the other one is the highest.
Mount Elgon also has a lot of caves. We have the biggest cave that connects from Uganda to Kenya, known as Tutum Cave. It is believed to have connected itself to the next cave that is known Kitum in Kenya. But this cave can accommodate over 15,000 people. But also the terrain of Mount Elgon, being one of the forested areas isolated away from the western part of the region.
Elgon slopes support a rich variety of vegetation ranging from the high open moorland to the dense mountain forest hosting over 270 tree species being conserved for its biodiversity.
At the beginning of the mountain, you find the normal forest trees, which I call the primary forests. And as you ascend through these primary forests, you got the secondary forest kind of ecosystem, where you find the big trees like the Aningeria altissimas, where you find the mahoganies, where you find the Olea welwechai. And then as those ends towards 3,000 meters high, you start also encountering the bamboo.
They are so medicinal. You can use it for virus kind of treatment and you get a result out of it.
And we have a very prominent medicinal tree, which they took specimens to America, and that's Prunus africana. And the results show that it is a remedy to prostate cancer.
During the 1980s liberation wars, locals took advantage and invaded much of the forest cover for agriculture and settlement. However, in 1993, government of Uganda embarked on a restoration program and established an exploration center at Kapkwai in Kapchora district for education and conservation purposes.
This center was established in October 1993, and they began with they targeted the young children. So we select schools around the mountain, and then they come here for a 4-day program. So they go through a number of lessons, both at for classroom and then also in the field. So many people come to learn to see exactly that we can rehabilitate degraded areas, and it can make a forest.
Mount Elgon is a water tower for eastern parts of Uganda and western parts of Kenya, and the only known water catchment area that contributes enormous water volumes to several rivers in both countries.
The purpose for its first gazettement as a crown forest was its important role of the water tower. And the only known clear catchment area that contributes enormous water volumes to the Nile through major rivers like Mporogoma, Awoja, that drains directly into the Nile.
Its height has enabled it to capture all the clouds that form rain, watering the entire area throughout the year. This has aided agroforestry along the slopes for the agricultural communities.
Without Mount Elgon as a mountain that ascends to 4,321 meters, the rainfall pattern in this area would have been compromised. And if the rainfall is compromised, the communities around Mount Elgon wouldn't have been able to cultivate.
Ipaka iyi huyeta huboho nifula nga hwabyalile bibyalilo byefe hwaba nifula ate hwafunaho nimbeho endayi rififeno nga hwabyalile bibyalilo byefe hulomamu huli kumumu kutse kwabyonekisa ta huba huli shimi ni shisala.
We don't experience a lot of drought as other areas. We normally receive rainfall, even if in January, February, March.
There is no clear 1 month that can elapse at Mount Elgon without rains.
An important site to the birders with over 300 bird species, some of which are endemic to only this national park.
On record, we have over 300 bird species in Mount Elgon.
And out of the 300, about 37 are endemic to Mount Elgon. So very many people come to see the birds.
The most endemic ones are two. That is the fox's weaver, which was almost being rubbished out by Nature Uganda or other surveys that it was going to be extinct.
Then we have the Atlap turaco, which you can only find in the range of Mount Elgon.
The park is home to a plethora of unique wildlife species, from the summit of the mountain to its lowest slopes.
It's not a park with a lot of animals, but at least we have the forest elephants, we have the buffaloes, we have also the forest hogs with a variety of monkeys, which is the calabash monkey, the white and black, the blue-faced monkey, the red-tailed monkey, then the baboons, the common baboons that you see.
Here in Pianupe is also a home of cats, cat families, and one of the unique ones are the cheetah and the leopards. But of course, we have also other smaller cats, like the genet cats, we have the civet cats. But of course, those ones are mostly more active at night because they are nocturnal animals.
We have the sitatungas, we have the grey-cheeked monkeys on the mountain, we have the bushbacks on the mountain, among others.
But as you go further higher to the Afro-Alpine zone, we have the mountain duiker, which jumps like a sprinkler or like a sprinkly antelope.
At its base lies Pianupe Wildlife Reserve, the second largest conservation area in Uganda, hosting majority of the park's wildlife.
Pianupe Wildlife Reserve is a home of very many endemic animals. One is the roan antelope, which is our pride here. It's only found here in Pianupe, in the whole of the country. So anyone who wants to view a roan antelope has to come here to Pianupe. And we have also the topis. Wow, one of the fastest antelopes in the world, going to a speed of about 56 kilometers per hour.
We have the extinct animal that has remained only in the part of Karamoja area. and this is cheetah. Cheetah, you can't find it elsewhere in Uganda now, but you find it in Pianupe Wildlife Reserve. We have also a unique zebras, which are also found in our reserve.
And the zebras we have here are quite unique in the way that they are manless zebras. Unlike other zebras, the mane, which is the erect area, which runs from the above of the neck of an animal towards the back. So, but for this one, it's short, almost it's not there.
This semi-arid reserve is characterized by dry savanna grassland and open woodland, with some pockets of greenery in the middle of the park. Visitors are awashed with sneaky movements from elands returning from a long night in the Haina Hill territory. Their direction is Lukromoi, a vast open savanna area dominated by short green grasses suitable for grazers. Pianupe's woodlands shelter the country's rarest antelope, the roan antelope. Not one, but a whole herd. These woodlands are characterized by grassy understory suitable for roan antelopes and their smaller counterparts feeding together in what seems to be an antelope affair. These antelopes gather their strength from unity, and once together, they spread out of their hiding without fear or favor. During the mating season, hundreds of elands gather around Kopenek grounds, located 18 kilometers west of Moruajore, the reserve's headquarters. Adult males spend much of the day probing for females under estrus, while the youth size up each other, displaying their offensive skills. For the mothers, it's a secure ground for nursing their young ones and a perfect feeding ground for the juveniles. A few meters away, this dense thicket is providing camouflage to two giant mothers. For a couple of weeks, these females have been detached from the main tower to give birth to their offspring, and soon the newest member of the family unveils itself under the watchful eyes of their adult male. By 1996, giraffes had gotten extinct from this national park. However, in 2019, they were reintroduced.
In old years before, there were a lot of giraffes here in Pianupe. But interestingly, the last giraffe was poached in 1996. The giraffes were reintroduced to their motherland, and that was in 2019 to 2020. And we received these giraffes from Massichon Falls Conservation Area, which has the same habitat like Pianupe, characterized by open grassland. In Pianupe here, we have a specific food for giraffe, which is the whistling thorn acacia. So right now as we talk, we have 29 giraffes, including 2 young giraffes, and this is our happiness.
This topi track along Bale Moroto Road offers the best sighting for the world's largest flightless bird, the common ostrich. These ostriches live in a herd of 40 individuals, the biggest herd ever recorded in any of Uganda's national parks.
The ostrich is one of the endemic birds that we have in Pianupe. That's where you have a chance to pass through Matheniko Bokora Wildlife Reserve. That's the corridor, the movement train of the ostriches, which makes us also so unique that it is also endemic on the eastern part of the country. In Pianupe Wildlife Reserve, we have roughly like 100 to 150 ostriches. But of course, still, as you extend northwards, like mostly when you reach to Bokora Matheniko, that's when you get very many individuals, like in one group, which can go like more than 20 to 45 individuals in one group.
Led by a dominant male and female, they spend much of their day roaming this open grassland for small insects and grounded fresh grass. Ostriches prefer living near grazing animals such as antelopes and zebras, which stir up insects and rodents, their preferred delicacies. Anxiety draws these zebra mothers close to the dry ostrich territory to protect their offsprings from this cheetah-torn wilderness. Grazers in this reserve converge for unique and amazing social activities, including sprinting. After feeding, small antelopes gather at Lukromoye to measure their sprinting prowess, leaving their spectators in utter dust. The reserve is home to the fastest hunters, and the exercise prepares their young ones for surprise attacks from the park's top predators. Jackson's heartbeats emerge the top athletes of the day, and once again, they feed on the freshest grasses, their ultimate prize. Mount Elgon National Park has engaged the locals with a number of tourism activities, and this has promoted local tourism among its neighboring communities.
We are starting a new program called the Run to Wagagai. We get people who are going to compete to run to Wagagai. And we have now on record that somebody is able to run to Wagagai about 35 kilometers to the mountain. You reach and come back under 60 hours. People come to Mount Elgon to worship, for prayers. Because at times I get those tourists who come and say the purpose of them hiking the mountain is to go for prayers up in the mountain. But also, because I can't miss out to talk about the bullfighting. It may not be inside the park, but it uses the food that comes from the park. The cows are oriented to do this game. It's a cultural aspect in Bududa, but is linked to the culture and then the park.
The park is home to the Sabiny and Bagisu communities, bearing strong cultural attachments to the mountain.
These two cultures have a very unique and rich culture known as the Embalu.
They believe without their mountain, their culture is compromised. And it is true. When the BaMasaba and the Sabinyes reach the circumcision period like now, the candidate must retreat to the mountain. For example, when a Masaba is going to stand for circumcision into manhood, the regalia he puts on, where does it come from? Where does he face when he's being cut? Where does he face when he's being buried? They face the mountain.
And this attracts very many people. When it is time for it, very many visitors come for it.
The Bagisu consider Mount Elgon to be the embodiment of their founding father, Masaba. And during cultural season, they climb it in fulfillment of their cultural norms. These communities are highly populated and greatly depend on the park for their day-to-day livelihoods.
Kumugaso kwesi holimo nabi injelu yesi shizali shino shibona hana bulai ifefe ikhorero hobunyufu ni fulengali nga yakhorerero ni fulengali khwanyalisa kho shifunomo ni tsimu ni bache ni khutsa bakholambula bashisima bari shini shilai baba bali kho bakhukenye.
We receive tree seedlings from Ua to plant along the boundary. We plant trees while planting our seasonal crops like beans, Irish, any of those trees around the national park.
Kutia kwa lombo hotingu, kwa lombe sibasi hali bahu hotingu, kwa rambisoho, kwa tiho kamalesi obatinyi, nenga kuza husaba kwa bahu fukili seniyo kwa niyo kwati.
We have given them projects of beekeeping. As I speak nearby the park here, there are some beehives which we have given them. And of course, you know, beehives bring honey. And they still also that can make a livelihood for them.
And we have another project, Babu Enterprise Uganda. We also allocated some plots which is inside the national park, but used by the community members. We plant bamboos while planting crops under those settings.
balambuli babetsa khulambula epaka eno nga ukale shesi khufunamo banyala khuba bali khutsia mulukendo khwabayeta khutsipaka tsawe banyalisa khukhulakho shesi nefe khunyala khweyetelakho engo nga lipesi.
Their activities inside the park have sometimes inevitably created an unfriendly environment due to the threats they pose to the flora and fauna of the park.
Some communities feel they should go in and cut down the trees, cultivate in the park the way they want. Because some claim that it is the land that belongs to their ancestors, and therefore they should use it. They encroach into the park to dig and to get food. Maybe even burning charcoal. Sometimes they go on wrong days.
The management has made tremendous efforts to maintain their coexistence amidst tough measures to protect the conservation area.
One, we come and sensitize them about the park, what the benefits of the park are, and how really we should live in harmony. We continue telling them that we need you as a communities, and they need us as the park. We should really coexist, so that none of us is hurt because of the other one's actions.
We have always conducted patrols along the park boundary to deter the local communities from entering into the national park illegally.
When tourists come, they collect 20% of their entrance fee. It's given back to the communities. We have termed it as revenue sharing. So that revenue sharing is collected at the end of every year. It is supposed to be given to the communities.
We have been receiving revenue sharing from WUA, of which we have projects on the side of agriculture, like improved farming methods, planning modern, water and soil conservation, of which we use it to produce our doors, to dig trenches within our plots outside.
We almost have daily routine patrols, or at times we call base patrols, where we go for patrols inside, do the search for illegal activities, those who are doing illegal activities, and then we can effect arrests, take them to police, and from there they are taken for sentence if they plead guilty.
Poaching is another illegal activity taking place on the slopes of the mountain and across the national park, especially wildlife-dominated areas.
Poaching activity majorly is concentrated in the moorland part, the topmost part, where our patrol force don't frequent because of the distance. Once we go there like 1 week, it takes again like almost a week before we go to that area, because we concentrate majorly on where communities over frequent. That's the lower zone of the park, the mountain part of it. And the animals which they do poach there are majorly the bushbucks, the duikers, the buffaloes, the giant forest hogs, and then the bush pigs. The other animals which are also poached, we have the blue monkeys, we have the black and white colobus monkeys, which is hunted for seriously because of the traditional dance, which is practiced by the Bagisu and the Sabynes.
The park has identified areas prone to poaching and equally encountered them with law enforcement activities, keeping the vice at bay.
We have extended patrol. Extended patrol we carry for a number of days, maybe up to a maximum of 2 weeks. But on average, we go for 5 days, whereby we go in a group, we do the search for those doing illegal activities, effect arrest, impound whatever exhibits they are using, which are destructive to the national park. Where time gets us, we camp there. Then the next day we continue like that, covering wide area up to the moorland sort of zone of this mountain, Mount Elgon National Park.
After the disarmament that the government put in to disarm the Karmojongs, the level of poaching actually has reduced because there is also, we are pushing in mass sensitization to the community to make them believe and embrace the spirit of conservation.
We have also tried to create activities which are supporting the communities outside other than relying on the park resources majorly, like support the planting of napier grass for cattle outside, which they use for feeding the animals under zero grazing. We also encourage the fuel-saving stoves, like the biogas, so that as time continues, they tend to forget about disturbing the national park.
At 4,321 meters, Mount Elgon is the second highest mountain in Uganda and has guaranteed survival for many streams and rivers in the East African region. Its volcanic remains have provided a great opportunity for many unique wildlife species to flourish under the auspices of the wondrous vast plains. This mountain is awaiting its third eruption, but still preserving the remains of the first and second eruption that occurred millions of years ago, creating sophisticated myths and mysteries that left geologists with some work to do.